Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's topic is an exciting one. We're going to be speaking about radical innovation techniques. And whatever I'm sharing, it is based on a 2-day radical innovation workshop which I had the privilege of attending, and it was conducted by MIT's Professor Sanjay Sarma in August 2019. And whatever we discussed in that workshop, I have summarized for you in this video. I enjoy sharing this with you, and I hope you gain something out of this session. So let's begin. Everybody wants that one big idea which will change their life, which will change their business, which will change their product, or bring in something exciting on the platform that they have built. The question is, how do we generate such an idea? How does an idea become brilliant? And how does the team that is generating the idea put together a work structure that can be productive in order for them to actualize their concept into reality in a very short time? This is the key. So it's worth understanding and learning how to create radical innovation. So let's begin. So there are 4 things that we need in order to begin a radical innovation workshop or a radical innovation endeavor. Whether it's in our personal life or whether it's in business, these principles are universal. First, we need enthusiasm. Enthusiasm has a half-life, said Professor Sanjay Sarma. And that is so true. He was very spot on in that statement. Just think about how we generate ideas on a daily basis. Most of us get ideas which seem to be radical, which seem to be crazy, but they may be good. But we never know whether these ideas were good because we did not act on them. And why did we not act on them? Because our enthusiasm after the idea was born completely became half, and then finally it died out. Worse still, we shared the idea with someone who was not related to the idea generation process, and they did not understand what the idea was about, and they never gave you an encouraging reply, and therefore you dropped it. So key ingredient number 1 in the mix of radical innovation: enthusiasm. Have loads of enthusiasm. Number 2 is we need ideally a lean core team. A lean core team is a team which comprise of people 3 to 5 or maybe just 6 with diverse backgrounds, different perspectives, different personalities, willing to come together for creating a new idea, willing to work together on the project of creating a new idea. This team has to be lean. It has to be away from the typical large organizational processes, and they need to be independent in order to generate the idea, and they need to have the freedom to create whatever they think is the prototype of that particular idea. So we need a lean core team of people. And 3, we need what is called as hypothesis testing experiment. We will discuss that in detail. And 4, we need what is called as the design language. How do we describe the idea? What is the terms that we use to describe the idea? That is as important as the concept in itself, and we will understand why that is so. So let us begin to delve a little more deeper into radical innovation techniques. So the first exercise that the core team can conduct amongst themselves is guided by the principal technique called as 5 Why. The 5 Why technique is easily understood if we visualize an onion. So there is an idea at the core, just like there is something in the middle, in the core of the onion. And to get to that idea, which at the moment we are not aware of what that idea is, we need to peel each layer of the onion. And how do we do that? How do we peel each layer of the onion? So we do that by consistently, systematically asking 5 Whys. So the first why is the first layer of the onion. So we begin by asking, why is there a problem? Why is there a shortcoming in a product? Why is it a disadvantage? Or why is there a quality issue? Whatever may be the situation and context of your life or business, you ask the why pertaining to that particular problem or concept that you want to generate. So, ask why, the first why. That will give you some answers. The team will write down these answers. Then, based on the answers or the understanding that you gained from the first why, we begin to ask the second why, thereby peeling another layer of the onion. The second why gives us some information and some insights based on what we have understood from the answers of the first why. And so on, we continue to ask 5 Whys until we come to the core idea, which becomes clear to all of us within the core team. At the moment, this might sound a little unclear, but if you try asking 5 Whys yourself in any aspect of your life or business, you will discover unique concepts, ideas, and insights coming to you which you did not expect. This is a very simple technique, yet a powerful technique. Often, this technique is used to find out the root cause of a particular issue or problem. It is used in order to begin what is called as the root cause analysis. But it is also valid to generate ideas or concepts. So, I would encourage you to try applying it. Now, let's take a real world example. So, let's look at IKEA. IKEA, as you know, is the most successful Swedish global company which created the do-it-yourself DIY category within the furniture business. So they have many innovations to their credit, and all the innovations are global. They've successfully deployed their ideas across the world. And how did they achieve DIY? So let us look at one aspect of DIY, one problem that IKEA had to solve in order to become successful. As you know, if you try to assemble a furniture, you would need tools. And the most important tool in order to assemble a furniture is a drill and a screwdriver. And a drill and a screwdriver, as strange as it may sound, may not be available with every customer at his or her home. Then how does an IKEA store sell these products? If you have bought an IKEA furniture or anything from IKEA that requires assembly, you would realize that the package is shipped to your home, and the package includes a DIY kit. And the DIY kit comes with all parts of the particular furniture. Let's say it's a chair that you have bought, and all parts of the chair along with the necessary holes in each part to interlock is provided. the nuts and the bolts and the unique screw, the unique tool that's required to tighten is also packed and provided, and an instruction diagram with numbered instruction diagram with English language as well as other languages is made available to you. And based on this principle, IKEA has become a global brand and successfully selling very high quality, uniquely designed products at an affordable value for money price. And that is a result of a radical innovation technique. So that is one example. Now, what is the next step? The first step is to have an enthusiasm within the team. Second step is to build the team. Third step is to have what is called as hypothesis testing experiment. An hypothesis testing experiment is fairly simple to do. So what is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is an assumptions based concept that we articulate, and we now want to test that particular concept or idea in the real world. In other words, we want to bring the idea from our mind onto paper, and then from paper we want to do something to actually test that particular idea. And why is that required? Because we need what is called as your own data. So we need to collect our own data of the idea by applying the idea and creating the particular concept into a prototype. And rapid prototyping is an essential tool that we can apply in order to quickly arrive at the product idea in the real world. So before we commercialize or before we create the actual product, we want, with the available resources and tools, we create a very simple rapid prototype. So let's take an example. For example, if you want to create a website or a portal and you want to choose between 2 or 3 web layouts, instead of actually going and coding the software application and preparing that and then going and testing it on your focus groups, you could simply take a piece of paper and put down, draw the website out in a particular design, color it, and then do the same with a variation of that particular design, and simply ask a particular set of people who are not involved in the idea generation process for their opinion. And when you ask them for their opinion, be open-minded and listen carefully to all of their reactions based on your product or based on what you're showing them. Record that and then begin to iterate until you arrive at a mock-up that seems to be fairly acceptable and exciting to your target audience. After that, you could quickly build a very simple website based on the design that was approved, and then you can test it on the market with that particular application idea. You can test it on the market and collect your own data, or what is called as YODA. So hypothesis testing experiment is extremely important phase, and this is the phase when the rubber meets the road and you will discover for yourself the big gap between a very good concept and idea on paper and all of its shortcomings in the real world. What it takes to create a product or platform or solution or service in the real world. And that gap, understanding that gap, is extremely important. And the core team has to work together continuously, iterating this process until they arrive at something that is acceptable, something that is a working prototype. From a rapid prototype, you come to a working prototype. So that's step number 3. And when now you want to scale the idea. In order to scale the idea, you have a particular working prototype or even a rapid prototype, and then in order to commercialize the idea, you need to use the design language. Let's take an example. Now, the term Internet of Things was coined decades ago by Sanjay's team in MIT, and the Internet of Things was a concept where the Internet is not only being used by computing systems but is also being used by other objects and devices by providing access directly to the Internet. And that is how we have created what is called as the smart device revolution. And the first of the smart devices was, of course, the smartphone. So, what is design language? When we create a term such as Internet of Things, then it makes it possible for us to communicate what is our concept and what the concept will look like in a future state. So, for example, if we said, I want to create a blockchain solution in order to solve a supply chain problem, then my design language has to be very clear and the articulation should be based on the technology solution language that is expected, so that the people who have to now build a commercially viable product from the concept that you have created, the communication becomes effective between the idea generation team and the product commercialization team. It also allows for us to scale the idea quickly and clearly. So, design language is extremely important. So, let us quickly summarize. Number one, we need enthusiasm. Number two, we need a lean core team. Number three, we need to do hypothesis testing experiment and do rapid prototyping and collect our own data. And then when we want to launch into the larger teams of the company or the business, we need to use the design language so that we can architect a scalable solution that can be brought into the real world and tested with real customers. So, this is a summary of 2 days of intense 18 to 19 hours of learning in a short few minutes for you. Most important thing in life to remember is think and act different if you want to create radical innovation. I enjoyed sharing this with you. I hope you learned something. May you be peaceful.